Okay, so now we're back to this. Make sure these are in the right order again. Yeah. His diagrams are actually very good, and if you follow his diagrams in his videos, you can see how they go together. And each part has a name, and you can look at this decoration on this side of the, the stainless steel side. You can tell each part from the other because everyone has something unique on it. So, all right. So now we've got this base. We're going to start with the base. The base is glued now. So I think I'm going to try putting a magnet in and see how that works. So I'm going to get out the magnets. We're going to put the base magnets in first. Bottom of the Starship, there's spots for 3 engines, 3 of the printed engines. Those are the sea level engines, and then these are the vacuum engines. And these aren't designed to go in here. I guess you could put them in there, but they're not really designed to do that. This is designed to have magnets go in there. So then you can easily connect the Starship to the booster. So that's going to be a nice way to do it. So I like that part of his design. So these require 3 5mm by 3mm magnets. So I'll have links to all the accessory parts and all the filaments and everything that I use to make this. So they come in 100 at a time. You don't need. If you're using magnets for each one of these, you could use 100, but it's not. They aren't that expensive. The tricky part, though, is going to be. Oh, the other thing about this is there's 2 magnets in each one of these engines. So the first one goes way down on the bottom in that little socket, and the second one gets glued on top, so that it sticks. It's flush with the top here, so that it'll attract the magnets that are at the top of the booster on the hot staging ring. So we're going to be doing that next, the booster event. So, but you're going to need to glue. So glue the first one in, and then glue the second magnet on top of it. So there's 2 magnets stacked up. So we need 6 magnets total for this operation here. So I'm going to get out the magnets that I need. I need 6. So these neodymium magnets are really powerful. Now these ones are small, so they're not quite as bad as the bigger ones, but you have to be somewhat careful with these, otherwise they can get away from you. So I got 7. I only need 6. So there. So these will stick together. Put this one here. It automatically pops back to its friend there. All right. So the tricky part, though, is gonna making sure all the polarities are correct, because you wouldn't want to have the north side of the magnet sticking out here and the north side of the magnet sticking out the top of the booster. So that's going to be a problem. We have to make sure we handle that. So my solution is, he doesn't really show how to do that, because he's putting the magnets in his video using a piece of steel, this magnet will north and south will still attach to the steel. So I'm using an actual magnet here. So this has its own polarity. I don't know if this is north or south, it doesn't really matter, but so I'm going to take one magnet and I'm going to put it on here. So now I know the polarity of this is correct, or is the way is a polarity. So I'm going to see if I can put this in here and get it out with the magnet still on there. I may have to use a tool. This is polarity. Let me see if I can use my little will I stick to that? Yeah, okay. See if I can use this tool to keep the magnet in there. Yeah, so I can use this tool to keep the magnet in there at the same polarity that it went in at. So, all right, so we're gonna shoot. See what I mean? All right, so we want to get one magnet at a time. Put these away. We don't want them, because within a few inches they'll just fly through the air. So, all right, so we're gonna put a drop of glue down at the bottom of this vacuum engine, and then I'm using this Loctite Super Glue Professional. That's what I use for when I'm making stuff. So there's a drop of glue down in there. Then we're going to put the magnet in there, and then we're going to push this other magnet to the side. And then you could use a magnet to check the polarity, and then make sure you maintain that polarity going down in there. So now this. Yeah, maybe I should use a plastic. What has a plastic end on it? That's how I'm going to do that next. Let's see. All right, so hopefully, because this is going to try to pull out because it's still sticking to this. Let me get my plastic. up and it won't come out. Okay, that won't come out. Let me find my plastic screwdriver. I got one here. Here's my plastic screwdriver. This is from an old, I've shown this before on my channel. This is from an old tube TV set toolkit. So some things are high voltage, so you want to use a plastic screwdriver. Anyway, so plastic screwdriver, if I use that to keep the magnet down in there after it's glued, then it won't stick to it like the metal side. So this has a metal and a plastic side. We're going to use the plastic side. I got one here. Here's my plastic screwdriver. This is from an old, I've shown this before on my channel. This is from an old tube TV set toolkit. So some things are high voltage, so you want to use a plastic screwdriver. Anyway, so plastic screwdriver, if I use that to keep the magnet down in there after it's glued, then it won't stick to it like the metal side. So this has a metal and a plastic side. We're going to use the plastic side. All right, so now it's time for the second magnet, or the second engine. So now we're going to do the same thing. Use our magnet to make sure our polarity is correct. That's the polarity. We will not go on there the other way. It'll either flip down the side or it'll flip over. There, see, it flipped over. Try that again. It went down the side. Okay, anyway. So we're going to put a drop of glue down in this next engine. And then we're going to put this in here. And slide it to the side. And then we're going to use our plastic screwdriver to keep it in there. Yeah, okay. So hold that for a second so it can dry. Alright, so now we'll take the next one. So we have 3. Once we get 3 in there, then the magnets that sit on top of them will automatically be polarized, or the right polarity will be up. So we're going to take one magnet off of here. Easier said than done to get one magnet at a time. We're going to put a drop of glue on this magnet on the top of it, and then we're just going to drop the magnet in there. It automatically goes the polarity we want, hopefully. And we're going to let that dry. We don't want to mess it up. Let that dry, then we'll work on the rest of the rocket. We'll put the other magnets in. We'll put the rectangular magnets in next. All right, so now we're going to use rectangular magnets that are used for the flaps. This is I really was impressed with this part of the design, so good for him. It's a good way to do it. I was thinking about doing this myself, and I was trying to figure out some kind of a joint or something. So these are 25 by or 20 by 8. Now he says he calls for 25 by 8 by 2. These are 20 by 8 by 2. I couldn't find 25 in the USA, at least on Amazon or someplace I could get too easily. So, but he said they don't have to be the full length; they can be a little bit shorter. So, again, I'll have a link to these in the video description. Now these are a lot more powerful because they're bigger, so you got to be even more careful with these. So we need 4 of these. We need 2. Actually, we need 8 of them, right? 4 that go in the ship, and then 4 that are glued into the flap. So we're going to put 4 over here. Yeah. So as you can see, these are very difficult to work with. Now he has a particular technique for inserting them into the Starship, so we're going to try that and see if that works for us. So let me just get 4 off to start with. Okay, so here's 4. So now what he does is, the way these are going to work is the magnets in the flaps. Let's get one off here. Okay. So these have to go like this, and then the flaps go like this. So that's really an interesting design. Let me see if happens if I flip this. Yeah, so this again, one end of these is north and one is south. So you have to make sure you get them lined up the way you want. So we're going to, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this magnet as my key. To see if I flip this, it doesn't want to go up to it. It's repelled by it. So I use one of these as my key, and I always keep it in this orientation, so it's always this side away from me. That way when I stick it in there, I'll always be going the right way. Now when we do the flaps, we can place the flap part next to the ship, and then put the have the magnet stick out of the ship, and then see exactly which way it's supposed to go in here. So you can see these pockets are a little bit longer. These are 20. There's a room for 25, and I have 20. So, but it still should work. It's plenty powerful enough. So, all right. So that's my system. So these are supposed to insert into here. So what he did was he put some glue in there, and then he inserted this in there, and then he peeled this extra magnet off. So again, to make sure I get the polarization correct each time, I'm going to keep this like this. So, although now that I think about it, if we're testing, the flaps are all unique, right? Each flap is unique. So if you got these wrong, it wouldn't really matter as long as you put the flap next to the Starship before you glue it into the flap, and then it'll always be correct. So these are unique, so that's not going to be a problem. So, but I'll just do this anyway because that's what I decided to do. All right, so we're going to do the first one. So start with the nose cone. We're going to put some glue. You know what? I got to get these other magnets out of here because they're going to cause a problem. So, okay. So we're doing it like this. And put some glue in this slot here. Okay. Then we'll pick this up, keeping the orientation the same. Let's see, I messed it up. All right. Let's try it again here. You can see what the issue is here. There. Okay. So that's right. So again, like I said before, it isn't actually going to matter. So maybe I'm wasting too much time here. So I think I'm just going to put them in like this and hold them down with the plastic screwdriver until they set. Yeah, now that I think about it, it's too much trouble to do what I'm doing. So we're just going to put some glue in here. And then we're going to put the magnet in there. And then we're going to hold it in with this plastic screwdriver so it doesn't move around. Now I'm sliding it down to the bottom of the flap just so it's going to be able to line up correctly. Now these holes, these slots are at least 3 millimeters, which is fine. The glue is going to hold it in there. So, all right, so that one's glued. Now we'll glue the magnets in the base here. We're not going to worry about the polarity for the flaps for the reason I just explained. So we're just going to put some glue in here. And the bottom is going to be this side, so... Oh, one of the magnets came out. Did it? No, maybe not. Maybe we need 3 magnets there. We'll have to see. This may be enough attraction, because these are strong magnets. It's probably enough attraction, even though it's recessed in here pretty far. To attach to the booster. But if necessary, we could put a 3rd magnet there, I guess, if we need to. Alright, so we're putting some glue in here, and then we're pushing in the magnet, and we're sliding it to the bottom. Because remember, these are shorter than the standard, but they still should work fine. Okay, that one's on there. And we have one more to go. Okay, so let's slide it to the bottom. Press it in, make sure it's all the way in there. Alright, so we're going to leave those alone. We're not going to try to do the flaps until the end. So, oh, I did that wrong. See, the bottom is this way. So I'm going it down to this end. Okay. So be more careful than I was. Let's see, it came out. So this part of this channel is showing the good, the bad, and the ugly, as you can see. Things don't always work perfectly the first time, but I try to show how you can overcome that. Alright, so we need to put some more glue in here. This glue is already setting up, so let's try it again. This time we'll try to keep toward the bottom here. See if we can do that correctly. There, okay. Now I'll press this in there. Okay, so this one's at the bottom, this one's at the bottom, okay. Alright, so we'll set those aside. Now, let's see how our base is doing. This base is solid enough, and it's flat, so looks like it's okay. One success. We did get all the heat shields on without too much breakage, so. Let's look at the nose cone again. So the nose cone is glued on, and it looks fine. So, as we saw, there was no problem inserting these magnets in those flap spots there. So, okay. All right, so now this can go here. And now we're going to start assembling it. So now we're going to use our spline and our locator pins. So I think I'm going to put on some gloves for this part. I should have had them on already, maybe, but it's going to be a lot of gluing. So I like super glue on your skin. It's, you know, it's not the end of the world, but there's no reason to have extra super glue. I think you don't want to breathe super glue, so I have a fan going over here, blowing on the fan now this way, going there, so just to get some good circulation before you do this. Now this spline goes like this, so we can actually, this flat thing, we can actually glue it to here to have a good base. So we're going to start with that, and then we're going to put each part on. And we kept them in order, so we're going to double check that order as we do it though. Alright, so we're going to start by putting the spline here, then I can still put these locator pins in, right? Yeah. Probably should put the locator pins in first. Okay, let's do that. Alright, so we're going to put drop of glue in each one of these sockets. Now again, his system has put magnets in here, those 5x3 magnets, but I don't want to use that many magnets, and I'm not taking this apart. Now on the larger model, the 1:96 scale model, there's internal structures like the methane tank and the oxygen tank and everything. So, you know, that's a lot more interesting than this one. All has the spline, so there's no reason to take it apart to show anybody anything. So the other one, you could just assemble it and show them what's going on inside. So we're going to put 3 drops of glue here and then put the spline in. And we'll just kind of push down on this as we go. Now the next piece is here, so we have to make sure we always get the heat shield tiles on the same side. That's a good thing to start with. So before we put it on, we're going to put the 3 things here, the 3 locator pins on this one before we stick it on there. So we'll glue those, 1, 2, 3. Now I think I mentioned while I was printing it, but I'm using the 0.3 millimeter tolerance spline because my printer is well calibrated. At least that's what he said. So there's no problem with this one. It makes a nice tight fit, so the things are going to line up better. Now we're going to put some glue along the spline because we want the spline to be the kind of the backbone of the whole thing. So we want that to be solid in there as we do it, and then we're going to put some on top of these locator pins. We're going to go all around the spline. We'll just wick in there. All right, then we can slide this on. Make sure you can see it. Make sure you keep the heat shield stuff on the same side. So I'm just going to go like this. Hold it down until it sets. Press it down. Make sure everything's lined up. Okay, then the last thing to put on is the nose cone. So that the locator pins we need are up here already. This is higher. There. So we just need to put some glue on this all around. And on the spline, we can put some on the top of the spline. That's going to engage the nose cone. Alright, that's good. Put the nose cone on. And there we have it. So I'm going to hold this for a few seconds to make sure everything is lined up and look for any drips. Okay, ready to put the flaps on. So here, there's 2 different kinds of flaps. There's the bottom flaps, which are bigger. So they fit down here. And the top flaps fit up here. Those are the forward flaps. Okay, so now, the way these flaps work is there's the heat shield side, which has the heat tiles on it. And there's the stainless steel side, which is like this, and it makes a little sandwich here, and nicely nested together. And there's a pocket here for the magnet. So the magnet fits in here, And again, these are 20 millimeter long magnets, and he has room for 25, so this should be fine. Just remember to put the magnets I put in these slots here. I need to put the magnet toward the bottom of the flap. So we're going to put the flaps on one at a time. And we talked before about polarity, so we make sure these polarity lines up properly with these ones that are here. So we just put this like this, and now it's sticking to it. So if we try to do it a different orientation, it's not going to go. So I flip it around. Well, flipping it around works, but if I flip it this way, it's going to reject that. Yeah, so it's rejecting that. Flips over. Okay. All right, so that's our orientation. We have to make sure we maintain that when we do the gluing. So here's our flap. Each flap is unique for each position. So there's a left bottom flap, and a right bottom flap, and a left bottom flap. So we have to keep them separate. And then ditto for these things. So there's our flaps. Then we want to line this up. Now, if you look, there's a little bit of a printing defect here. Not sure why. I think this printed did it print like this? I don't think so. I guess it did. It printed upright like this. Okay. Yeah, so looks like I could have used infill in there, in this area, but since my magnets are short, it's not going to be a problem. It's going to be covered up, so that's another printing mistake. Yeah, same thing on these top flaps. So you want to put infill in this area, or support rather, not infill. Support those things. Yeah, that's the only way to print it on this upright like that. You could print this surface down. I think this would print, but I didn't do it that way. Anyway, it's not going to affect us, so that's good. All right, so there's our things. Now we're going to put some glue right over here. You can see that, yeah. Just 3 drops of glue here. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to put our magnet in there. Actually, our magnet was a little bit too short, so I probably should only put 2 drops. I'm going to glue that in there. And then we're going to put some glue for the stainless steel sandwich part of it, the top part of it. So, and we're going to lay this on there and make sure it's nice and tight. And press down the whole sandwich for 15 seconds to glue it in place. So we'll let it dry before we try to put it on the rocket. It's not a better solution than me holding this. I'm going to use my spring clamp. So I have these spring clamps, and there. So then I don't have to hold it. So that's an improvement. All right, while we're waiting for these to dry, we're going to put the engines in. Okay, so we have three Raptor engines to put in here. I printed them in orange instead of olive green, and then I don't have olive green filament handy, and orange is like when they're firing, so that's more fun, right? That seemed like the best color for the ones that I had available. So these fit in here pretty loosely, so that's fine. We're just going to put some glue in the little socket some glue there. In this socket. Drop of glue, yeah, it's in there. I'll put this in. Press it down, I'll be held in by gravity while I'm holding it like this. Alright, so let's hold on those for a few seconds. And I'll just hold it like this for a while. I'll prop it up against something so it can dry in this direction. Alright, the flaps are dry. Let's see how they fit. So this one goes here. This one goes here. This one goes here. And this one goes up here. So you can demonstrate to people that yeah, these could be stronger, so we're going to see what we can do about that. But they do stay on here, and they can show. You can show how the flaps articulate if you're demonstrating how the Starship re-enters the atmosphere, coming down, and then these help control its attitude and where it's pointing and so forth. So, and these are dry now, so this is all set. Now I'm not perfectly. These seem to stay on pretty well. A little bit not so great, but these seem to come off a little too easily because there's a big giant flap right here. And there's only a magnet at the bottom, so I think 2 magnets would have been a better solution if there was enough room. for this. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to beef this up a little bit. I started doing it over here a little bit. I have some leftover 8 by 1 millimeter magnets from another project. So there's enough room in this slot here to put some more magnets in. So I'm going to take those. I already put one in there. So the magnets in there now is 2 millimeters wide. And the slot is about 3 millimeters. So we can put these extra magnets in here. Hopefully we want them to go the way they want to go. Should be this way, I guess. Yeah. Okay, I got 2 in there. Now let's try it and see if it sticks on better. Let's slow it down a little bit. Let's see if we can push those all the way in there. It's pretty flush now. So yeah, so that's a little bit better. A little bit more power. So that's holding on a little bit better. Still not super secure, but I still think it's a good solution. Better than trying to make a hinge, because the hinge would be very problematic. And so anyway, so our Starship is done. There's a few little gaps here. I'm not too worried about that for my purposes. But any mistakes I made putting this together, printing it over, you could blame on me. That's fine. I mean, I did my best. Print this out. I'm not. This is the first time I tried it. If I printed it again, I could maybe improve things a little bit, like remembering to put supports for these flaps, things like that. And the only improvement I would say that probably should be done is the top. Instead of having the little spike coming out of the top of the silver section, just use a locator pin up here. That way the top of the silver section is flat. Then it'll be easier to get this on without having to use this tool. And this tool, I mean, if you want it to work reliably, you need to have a depression. Make it bigger, have a depression that fits the nose cone of it's bigger than the top of the heat shield side of the nose cone, so that it'll nest in there and stay steady, instead of this being just slightly bigger. This hole is slightly bigger than the post that comes from the silver part to stick through. So those are suggestions, let's say. But overall, this is really super high quality model. I think it'll work well explaining things to the public, and they'll be impressed. And this size, the 200, 1 to 200 size is perfect for my purposes. It needs to be able to fit in a box that I can take to an event. I'm not going to set it up in my office as a statement piece. I want it to be out in the world, explain to people how SpaceX rockets work.
If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Post a comment if you have any questions or ideas, and I'll try to respond. That's all for now, but more videos are coming, and if you want to see them, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification icon if you don't want to miss one. This is Beta Cygni signing out, and keep looking up.